because I'm super honored and excited for us to have Mr. Kenny Truong joining us today. If you guys are not familiar with Kenny, Kenny is Mr. Northern California. Fast Agent is what he's known for, multiple icon agent here with eXp Realty, and someone who's not only a leader, someone who's an innovator. Man, I've listened to some of the things, Kenny, I'll share with you in a moment, but like just thinking about things differently in a very, very intelligent and how to leverage mentality, like really has shifted things, not only for his business, but even just hearing him talk shifted for me as well. So Kenny, we're super honored to have you on today, man. How you doing this morning?
I'm good this morning, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And how long have you been with eXp Realty now?
As of January 2020, so this is my technically just wrapped up my fourth year, entering my fifth year at ESP.
Nice. And how long have you been in the real estate space?
Licensed 19, no, sorry, 2009, so
Okay.
15 years. And I worked as a full-time, well, part-time assistant for 1 year prior to me getting licensed. So technically been in the space for about 16 years.
And if you don't mind, man, I'd love for you to share with everyone like that trajectory of your career, because man, you are a juggernaut in real estate. And so I'm really excited for everyone to know your street cred so we can dive into some good stuff.
I'll go really fast and short. Worked 4 years at an independent brokerage with 6 agents at that company. Prior to me joining, they had like 200 agents and the market crashed. So 95% agents were gone. Quickly became the #1 agent in the city of Oakland for units, for buyer units, from my third year of real estate on to maybe my 13th. So I held that title for a decade. My fifth year of business, I joined another company, a boutique in San Francisco called Climb Real Estate.
Mhm.
I brought on actually, they at their peak, they had like close to 300 agents. I brought on about 75 agents to that company. I did not get paid for recruiting until my fourth year there. So I just was recruiting and mentoring agents. They were Inman most innovative company of the year in 2015. I was the most innovative agent for Inman. I had a good run there for 5 years. And then entering my 10th year in real estate, I landed at EXP, came over with a team of 11. And within 12 months, I had a team of 110. The following year, 220. Then we peaked at 374 last year. So now we're back down to right at 200, 199 a day. So we've scaled up and down pretty quickly.
Wow.
Second year here at EXP became the #1 team for volume and units and GCI. And then third and fourth year, #2. Currently, this is our fifth year. We're #2 for, I think, at least for sales volume right now. The EXP has been bringing a lot of competition in. It's really exciting to see and learn from many new faces in the company.
Kenny, congratulations, man. That
Thank
is
you.
like incredible. It's absolutely stellar. And I'm really honored to have you on because, man, we want to know like some of what it looks like to scale a business that way. And I'm always interested to understand better, where did you come from before the real estate business? Like, what were your other skill sets or other professional history that you brought to real estate that helped you with this level of success?
I had a computer, got my first computer on a 66 megahertz with turbo button on the Microsoft 95 as my first, and then I started just playing online on the internet, started building websites in middle school, blogging, social media. I mean, MySpace isn't technically social media, or is it? I don't know, but like doing a lot of like fun stuff online. Um, was always really, really into technology throughout middle school and high school. In fact, like I designed half of our yearbook at school.
Oh,
And I did all
wow.
these custom pages. I couldn't figure out Photoshop, so I used, I think, something called, I forgot it, Pink Shop Pro or something. But when I got into the real estate space, I saw the gap between technology and people. Granted, it was a way different. I know real estate is a relationship business, but not really back in the REO days. So when I was entered the business, everyone was losing their home. So I was a fresh face. So I helped a lot of buyers buy bank loans. So when I saw it, that's why I was an asset and a product to sell. And marketing wise, I'm what I'm marketing. Real estate is just a byproduct of my what thing I do, not who I am.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I thank you. I think that's a stellar way to look at it. And then Kenny, so what's interesting, so like you're big into technology, you're looking at ways to like, leverage things so that they're more efficient, more effective, but yet you came out of the gate with some really high level marketing. Did you have experience on the marketing side before this as well?
No, just like have studied it over time, and I've always been in like technology and marketing, even and then marketing myself. Like I had a big following on Zanga, it was a blogging thing, and a MySpace. I had like a lot of friends on Facebook, but when I was writing myself, there was never a picture of myself. So I kind of sold myself as the product, and then online between like learning e-commerce and building websites and different things, I got to see a lot of details, and then I had a good eye for design because my third year in business, I started an email marketing newsletter that was like pop culture theme every week. So I spent like easy 6 or 7 hours every single week for a good 5 years, looking at all the color branding and looking up everything I can find about a company. I wish I could find those newsletters. They're actually on my old site. I gotta try to find a way to bring it back. But I had a lot of if you go on my Instagram, you probably see like the image, the header images. You find kind of traces of that from back then.
Nice. And then Kenny, so Fast Agent, right? Fast Agent
Yeah.
is like your brand. That's your slogan. That's something that, catapulted your career. How did that come to be? Like share with everyone kind of where that came from and how it's evolved.
It started with started with a license plate. My original license plate had an M5. License plate was F5T GNT. Is that 6 letters? No, GENT. So the five was the S. And one day I was thinking like, and this is before hashtags were popular. Hashtags were only on like Twitter. They weren't on Facebook. They're barely used. Instagram barely came out. So I'm like, it'd be kind of cool if I can get people to call me this thing called a Fast Agent, and I started using it as my marketing. So when I first started using that, like within a couple months, I started an email newsletter. But everywhere I go, I was a really busy buyer's agent. And Instagram and social media was taking pictures of your food and passions back then, and it's people were kind of kid about that. So I would drive around as a buyer's agent, going to all these places and taking pictures of the houses, my sales. But then I kind of didn't take myself too seriously, and I added a layer of comedy to it, and I had the hashtag Fat Agent. So there's hundreds of pictures from that are still on Instagram today that says Fat Agent. So between mixing that, when I see people, they would kind of like laugh, like Fat Agent or Fast Agent. And then also I think my third or fourth year in business, I got picked up 10 bench ads, and on the bench ads in the real world it always says hashtag fast agent on them. And over time, the people got to see like, what's that? So then they would go online and then they would discover my Facebook, Instagram. So they were able to like pull the offline marketing world into the online. And that's how I got started at the beginning of building that brand.
Interesting. So that's like dark social approach and really leveraging like people's
Yeah.
curiosity. That's super interesting. And Kenny, when it comes to like, your ability to come into, the real estate business, have this tremendous success, build this incredible like branding and following, and obviously, number of relationships. I always love to ask someone like you, if you were going to start over today, what would that look like? Knowing what all the amount of experience that you have, if you had to start right now, what would you do to, recreate this level of business?
I would highly suggest someone start joining a team so they can get plugged into all the systems and not figure it out. I lucked out by starting a very small team. I kind of consider my brokers a team, but then there wasn't a lot of oversight on how to do business because my broker was REO. So I
Mhm.
had to figure out like marketing, and I got to try out tons of different things for marketing. But right now, many teams have the playbooks already. They have the leads. They probably have a lead pond they're sitting on. There's busy agents that need help. I would try to grab every single opportunity to just get in touch any way possible to get in touch in front of people at scale. Like without going too deep in like some of my other history, like I signed up for every single website I could. I blogged on every single platform. I posted on every single site just to get in front of people. But now it's so much easier to do that with social media. But then the space is much louder, so you do have to stand out more.
And what might you do to stand out like more given the dynamics of social and whatnot? Like, would you pick one platform and really just pour in there? Would you spread it across all of them? Like, what are some of the tactics you would
I would
use?
hyper focus on one platform right now, and that would even like even without my knowledge history, it would probably be Instagram because the age group of Instagram, I think it's in the like late 20s, early 30s to the mid 40s, and that's where you're gonna get most of your buyer business from. As much as we all want to be top listing agents, it takes years to build that business. You still need to work with buyers first that eventually sell their homes, which sucks now because then they're holding their homes for 12 years on average in California. But you need some buyer business. You need to go on showings to get in front of people, open houses to then get referrals for the listing side. So Facebook is great, but Facebook, you're gonna have much older people on it, which is good because most of them probably are homeowners. But Facebook, I think the demographic, the sweet spot is probably like 35 to 50. So like, and then I never played on Snapchat. I was on Snapchat, but I thought it was a waste of time. And I think anyone here, we've seen people take Snapchat seriously to do business. I don't see successful agents from Snapchat. They might still be wary of things that are gimmick. TikTok is great. There are successful agents on it, but it's such a small number. Like how many? I can't right off the top of my head name any like people on TikTok that's gotten a lot of business consistently. And then other than they do it, and then they'll teach people, oh, this is how I build my business on TikTok, and then that's part of the allure of them getting more business from their referral source. But I think Instagram is the biggest playground, and most people are on it.
And then Kenny, like when it comes to the buyer side of real estate, we have a ton of changes coming in our industry, as you obviously know. How do you see it as far as like opportunities are concerned? Because as you mentioned, people really should still focus on both sides of the business. You can represent buyers and sellers. I know a lot of people say we should only be listing agents, but you are cutting out half of the volume out there.
Yeah. I mean, with the changes coming, we're really, I think we're gonna be positively impacted. A lot of agents, I've been in so many different conversations rooms, picking up from CEOs and different things. So I have a lot of random points of view, but overall, the general consensus is it's going to be good for the industry. A lot of people will be filtered out. The CEO of Next Home, I was on a small panel with him last week. 6,000, I think 600 offices, 3,000 agents. They think there's going to be a 20% attrition rate if compensation is offered, and then 40% attrition rate if it's not. So as long as agents are able to deliver their value, you hear that a lot, but now it's like a speed delete. You need to get in front of as many people as possible. Because I think statistically NAR, this is previous years, not like recent, like 80% of people will just work with the first person they see. So if you can be one of the 80 people, one of the agents can meet with the client immediately as soon as possible, or open house a better rapport and be the first to land that buyer presentation and then talk about competition and stuff like that, there's a really high chance you're going to be able to win that business. And then what the attrition rate, there's less agents in the game. So there's just more opportunities for those who are going to be able to perform at a high level. Like our team, like we just wrapped up a 6-week workshop. I'm working with buyers. Our presentation skills are really, really solid. Like we train on the workshops, script practice, role play. We're constantly updating our PDFs. We also have online leads team, like our Zillow team and a Redfin team, Ojo. So then they have to actually have certain scripts and metrics they had to hit. Just to give an example, like Zillow, which is only 15% of our business, they use AI to listen to all the phone calls. Make sure you hit ALM, appointment, location, motivation. But when you're an agent talking to a buyer, you just kind of, in the past, like you're kind of just friendly, building rapport, but you forget like to hit certain things you need to do and say in that conversation to move the person forward.
Yeah.
So
Instead
using a
of
lot more data and you just be more strategic. Just like how you would listen presentation. You don't just show up like, hey, I'd love to sell your house.
Yeah.
Okay, what we're gonna do for it.
Right. And although, we, have similar interests and we're really like feeling connected, you still have to have a sales process to guide them forward through. Kenny, that's really interesting that, you guys are kind of already tweaking. Do you guys already leverage the buyer broker agreement as of like today with the team for the most part?
Not yet.
Okay.
Some agents use it. I be honest, I personally have never used one before. Yeah, I've been doing this for like 15 years. I've sold hundreds of homes. I just never used it because I was able to deliver my value or get in front of enough clients. But it's the cool part about this generation of agents coming in. That's all they know. They like just like tell them how to jump how high or go knock 100 doors. Sure, why not? Like they don't know any other way. The hard part about this shifting market is people who's didn't do certain things or do certain things and tell them to stop or start is going to be the biggest challenge. So I would try to tell everyone to mentally reset their business. If you were to start today and you had to start all your processes over, which are some habits you enjoy doing, but that doesn't serve you or serve your clients?
Yeah, and it's interesting. EXP Realty is trying to really be ahead of the game in terms of how to navigate some of this space, because it makes sense that it could be a challenge when someone enters into the market to purchase a home. When the changes take effect, at least here in California, they will need to sign a buyer broker agreement with an agent before they can go and see a property, right? And so that might be a tough thing for some buyers to understand, especially if it's a longer term contract, or if it's several pages.
Yeah.
They just show up and they want to see a house. So EXP is doing like a one pager. Kenny, have you had a chance to review that? And what do you think about that approach to have more of a limited scope to start?
I think it's a great way to start. They released that right like the first week the NAR settlement when Leo was on that. I read it 2 months ago. I forgot what it looks like on there, but it's a good way. Anything anything you can do to create less friction and make it easier for consumer to get in front of you is key.
Yeah, and it looks like that contract is almost like a, hey, we're going to enter into a short, limited relationship here contractually, so
Mhm.
we can just test the waters with one another. And I'm with you, Kenny. I didn't build my real estate career signing buyer broker agreements. I've been in the
Yeah.
business 20 years, and I tell people all the time, I much would have rathered a handshake than someone signing a document. But as you mentioned, we're the ones who are going to have a harder
Yeah.
shift moving forward than the agents who don't know any better.
It's awkward. It doesn't feel natural. It's awkward, but then once because the buyers are gonna disagree with it, but now in the news articles and buyers understand this is the thing, this is the only way to legally represent them. I think they'll be fine. And then you just gotta position it differently. Bring value is what everyone says, but you also like bring up the pain points. Like before, I mean, not before, like right now, the way we're currently doing this before, literally before this all this buy broker agreement requirement or even talks, the one of the, like a script or something you could talk about is, if you can hop on a call with me for 15-20 minutes, I could save you tens of $1,000s. Would that be of interest to you? Because
Mm.
they have to watch out for certain things in the house, review inspections in more detail. Maybe there's some neighbor nuances they're not aware of. Like I have a listing coming up on the house tomorrow. Actually, I went there yesterday. It's coming up in a couple weeks. I didn't know across the street they're planning to build a large building, like a 5,000 square feet house. Good thing this the
Mm.
seller told me, but like just, or if you're in a more like a dense metro area, you should probably know about different complexes and constructions being
Plan.
built. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they potentially block your view. So those are some of the things that a buyer's agent should. The number one reason agents, buyers that are surveyed, 1,000 watts did the survey on, I think 1,000 buyers, was 61% people ish said like it's to protect them from like lawsuits and stuff like that.
Yeah, and see, that's where like data is going to be super helpful, right? Like we think we know what the consumer's looking for and wanting, and how to speak to them, but you really need to better understand from them why they would choose to work with an agent and accentuate some of those things. Now, when you take some of that information, Kenny, how do you relay that going back to like an Instagram? What are you doing with understanding, the needs of the consumer and then getting that back out on social? Like, what does that look like for you?
You need to show them you do that much work. I learned last week too. It takes about 80 to 100 hours to work with a buyer. Most buyers think we just drive around for a couple of showings, get in contract, and call it a day. So relating to social media, like you should be posting more about what it is that you're doing. You should be talking about, hey, I'm prepping today. It sounds really boring, but then the content should be more educational. Like dancing videos and all that is good for entertainment and grabbing some more attention to you. But when the consumers already hire an agent, they want to hire someone that's like detailed and know what they're doing. So as a buyer's agent, you should talk about how you are prepping CMA. You're setting up a buyer store. You're calling all the agents. You're driving an hour. Like you drive an hour a lot of times to just do a 10-minute showing. That's the reality of the life of an agent. So you talk about that while you're at the house. Should be talking about the house. Afterwards, recapping, hey, our clients like the house, didn't like the house. So like talk a lot about what it is you do while you're doing it, what you're going to do. So when consumers see you, well, wow, that guy's busy. We are that same amount busy, but a lot of agents are like, oh, I just sold this house today. I just sold this house today.
Right.
Yeah, like they forget that you make it look so easy. You're not showing the real work. So I built my business early on, like if you go on my social media, like 10, 15 years ago, it is me taking pictures of the foundations, talking about I have 14 homes I'm showing today. Like and then it's all still relatable to this day. Like, and then the educational content, you know, hey, I'm reviewing this NHC report. There's an easement and on this property, there's a lien from 3 years ago that someone didn't catch. Like, not every buyer looking at your stuff is going to be that interested in it because they're not ready for that information at the time to just skip it. But if they are in the market, they remember, oh yeah, Kenny was talking about all this detailed stuff. He seems to know what he's talking about. Like my cousin's trying to buy a house. A lot of times, like you're doing social media, you're not even they're recommending to their friends and family that might not be on, but you just gotta stay top of mind.
And Kenny, would you kind of just like notate throughout the week and then like batch shoot that content? Or are you just
No,
about
on the
your day
fly.
and just turning it on? Okay.
Yeah,
So it's just
yeah.
like you're in the middle of your day, something interesting or not even interesting for us, like just document what you're doing, turn on that camera and let it fly.
The thing about like what we do, we don't think it's interesting because we do it so often, but like the clients don't see any of that. I was teaching our agent set last week. I don't get dirty. I'm just using the term. I love getting down dirty in the foundations. I like going underneath the house. The other day, it's like I saw a house with brick foundation, which is non-common here. But
Wow.
how many times has a normal buyer seen the foundation? Do they understand like anchor bolts and bracing? You know, they understand like missing gutters and leaks and stuff like that. They're not seeing these things, but when you could show it to them, they're like, man, I better work with that person because they if I work with them, I feel like they're probably gonna save me a lot of money versus someone that's inexperienced. You know, well, with social media, you can't really tell who's experienced or not because if they're doing their content well. But the buy you got to build your clients' trust, and that's going to be through being a knowledgeable advisor.
And Kenny, I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit because I want to thank you for something. I've been on a path, right, of trying to make sure that I can continue to do what I can to elevate every agent around me. And part of that path has become actually teaching real estate at community college, Mount Sac down here in Southern California. So I'm a professor, right? And so like I'm looking at this as like, oh, this is going to be a great
Mhm.
funnel to start supporting new agents, a whole 9 yards. And then I show up to a meeting that you had with Larry White, and you're like, oh yeah, I found some great content to help agents study for their exam, and I leverage that. And I want to thank you because I tend to want to recreate everything because that's just my natural approach, right? Well,
Yeah.
there's a need, let's fill it. And usually the way I feel it is I get to work. And I love the way that you look at things and think because you're far more efficient. How do you build some of that awareness, or how do you build like that thought process? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, that thing you're talking about is I downloaded a bunch of Facebook groups, the PDFs from like prep agent or new agent training, and put them on my Slack channel. And when I meet new agents that are interested in joining real estate, it's like, hey, I have this great resource for you. You want to check it out? And then boom, they're in my Slack channel with the hundreds of other agents that are working here or in my downline, and we have 80% conversion rate. But those small ideas just come at me here and there. So I go to a lot of the conferences, probably at least 20 a year, and I try to walk away with one or two nuggets from those. And I'm not really in production. I'll probably sell like 10, 15, probably like 10 homes this year. And because I have the time and I have the resources and the army of virtual assistants and leadership, if I can come up with a great idea, I'll usually put it in my channel and then have someone else work on it. So all day throughout the week and when I'm traveling, I'm looking for these small ideas. A lot of them are just in conversations just like this. If you can take away three or four things from this conversation, you realize like when you got to figure out when would you want to do them. Like when early on when I had all these ideas, it would confuse my team a lot because they don't know which ones to prioritize, and we actually upset them because then I would just have some stupid random idea, not stupid, like just small that's not going to really move the needle, but I liked it. And then they'll work on it and deprioritize something else that actually is going to make us money, and then go back to, hey, where's this at? So grabbing these ideas, writing them down, writing them when you want to accomplish it, who's in charge of it, who's going to take lead, and then assign to it is going to easy way to execute a lot. And that way, and then my team will come back to me. We have a marketing Slack channel on marketing requests. They'll just give me progress upgrades throughout the week. More, I'll probably say 75% of the time they're chasing me back, asking me for feedback on something that I asked for, which is
Mhm.
good. That means they're working, and then I just keep finding new things. I give examples of some things that does not make us money, but that's impactful. Midjourney, that they create these cool pictures, Midjourney
Mhm,
AI.
mhm.
I was like, how cool would it be if all of our team had headshots that were AI generated? So that project has probably been 100 hours in. It takes actually like sometimes half an hour to create an image back then. But you go to fastagents.com, all of our agents have really cool AI headshots. We reiterate them over time using Midjourney V6. And there's some other tool we paid for that did some things that are cooler. And then like we launched a project called Studio, Studeo. If you go again, you go to fastagents.com, you can see our agent profiles. You guys, I think most of you guys have seen like a flip book, like a magazine or something like that.
Mhm.
Well, we use this thing called Studio, and it has all their. It's like a listing presentation, and they have a buyer or get to know me. There's two, what do you call it, presentations they have, and then we're able to grab all the pictures of their friends and family and stuff from Instagram. So when you go see their profile, you get to know them as a person better. And that project has been hundreds of hours in, but it's one of the unique projects that sets us apart from any other company, but it doesn't make us money right away. So those are like when the team has no projects or nothing to work on that's super important, then they kind of like fall back and improving those projects. So there's always something to do or something to work on. And example too, like that seller presentation on the Studio, it was bad, but I didn't bring it to your attention. Like they've been doing it for a month now. Like why there's pictures of like Miami condo high rises and Orange County houses? Like we work in the Bay Area. Like can you go and swap all these pictures out? So now they can go back and spend hours on doing that. And then one thing too, like we don't seek perfection. I just get that. And I knew they would go back and work on it, but like I just want them to keep without interrupting their flow. It's scaling that. Now they can go back and just make the small changes on every presentation. So
Kenny, so
small tweaks all the time.
when you talk about some of the people who are working on some of these projects, and are these your agents that are on your team, or is it just strictly virtual assistants?
Mostly virtual assistants. We have like
Gotcha.
4 in our marketing department. We have a head. I'm technically like the head of marketing for companies. So I oversee everything, and I'm still in the grind. Um, Example, I spent 50 minutes last week working on a new for sale sign
Mhm.
and open house sign. That sounds really stupid because then I tried to grab some of the assets from ESP Luxury, but in a day, like it's too plain for our brand. It's not on brand. And for a week, I was just going to use ESP Luxury on my new $2.5 million listing, but it wasn't on brand and then as a company leader, not branding my company sounds really dumb. So we took an existing sign design we had and it made it go. We chased some text around and then we added the new X, the background X. I think it looks really great. So
Nice.
that took me and my marketing team 15 minutes to do that open house time. We just changed a couple colors around. Like, okay, this is perfect. And we all collectively thought this looks so great. And then we ordered a new one. But now like it's done. Like it's now whoever's doing luxury on their team has something that looks a little more upscale that's still on brand. So I don't completely leave it up to the virtual team to do everything. They do mock-up stuff, but sometimes I get in the grind and actually into the weeds and do stuff for the company for marketing.
And Kenny, let's kind of switch gears a little bit to some of the EXP stuff. With the changes in marketing and your ability to see opportunities and understand how to leverage them. What's exciting to you about EXP as far as some of the, different systems and tools that we have available that like you and your team are excited to leverage moving forward?
We don't use a lot of tools, to be honest. Like the marketing center is great, but it's not on brand with us. We build our own and we can't get our agents to adopt it that much. Workplace is solid. I pay Workplace is a great place for referrals. I wouldn't spend all my time in there, but I would consider muting a lot of channels because it's kind of overwhelming. But I have a couple of close friends at ESP that are constantly, if they see something in the Bay Area, they text or DM me right away. Like this morning, there was someone in the Icon group looking for a listing referral in Alamo. Alamo average price is $3 million. So I don't work that market. So I text one of our agents that live 10 minutes away. Hey, you and Christina should go grab this opportunity. So that's a good place to learn. And then your different Facebook groups who are sharing ideas, dropping PDFs like that. The systems are great, but the people I think are the secret sauce for EXP.
Mhm.
So all these like spreadsheets and tools and scripts and scoreboard card with all these systems, those are systems that are not actually from EXP directly, but are from the people. Has been a huge source of growth. Like my mentors, Dan and Kyle. When I first started, like I learned a lot from how they ran their businesses, and I decided like how I went. Like saw Kyle doing an indie model, so I went more that direction without being on the deals. And I saw Dan's like, you gotta be the main marketing head for your company. We brought on someone to handle marketing twice They made a lot of improvement, but in the day, like I make the final decisions, and ever since I stepped back in as a marketing person, our marketing has gotten better. But they did was pretty impactful. So just seeing how other companies inside ESP operate has been huge, and mimicking some of the stuff that works or not. Like I mastermind with a lot of the top leaders here, and most of our systems are pretty similar, which is
Hmm,
not a bad thing.
interesting. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good thing because you would
yeah.
imagine there's optimization that over time, like people keep falling to. So it's almost like a way to make sure like you are on that same level. When you're doing this, Kenny, because I think this is really key for all of us to figure out, the right methodology to approach this. Do you see a need in your business and think of if I only had a spreadsheet or a tool or something to improve this part of the system and then you go search for it? Or do you go and look at agents that you have a lot of admiration for, have scaled, and then start looking at the systems that they leverage? Like, what is your approach to
The
this?
latter.
Okay.
Like we use Monday to run our entire company. That's a really good example too. I got it from a non-HP agent. I actually, because 2 years ago I was the number 2 agent at California for units, and my friend Sandeep's number 1, and we flip back and forth. But he used Monday. I kept seeing him put screenshots of how he runs all his back end, and I know Kyle Whistle uses it too. So I asked Kyle for feedback, and then for Sandeep, I actually had him on 2 different calls with me for an hour, just like him walking me through it. But he didn't connect me with his virtual assistant. I ended up hiring the same marketing consultation company called Purple Plum. It's like $175 an hour, but we
Mhm.
bought 20 hours to build out systems that mimic what he did. And then we launched that. I want to say June. I want to say like June 2022. But I was talking about launching it since January. Like, hey, this is a really big deal. It's going to change our company. But we have other things going on right now. We need to like build this out in June. And then we slowly did, and it worked. And then it has everything. It keeps our recruiting stuff on there, our projects, all of our sales, commissions, TC, like literally it runs our studios. We have 4 video editors, our studios, our video editing, our automation through text when something is done, on automation through text when something's so texting agents, hey, do you want us to call your review clients for asking for a review? But it's literally the brain of our entire company is on Monday. It's just, and then I don't know all the little details of everything that runs. That's like I asked for an idea, and then it happens. I couldn't tell you how this stuff works. I just know what I wanted, and then it got built. But that
And
was a game changer. And then I told my team, hey, can we start looking at ClickUp in 2025, which is like a Monday copycat. So I don't know we're ready to move or ClickUp, but I like using new companies that are startup-y because they usually have to spend more time and energy and features to compete against the big companies.
yeah.
So in the tech space specifically, so the new products tend to actually be a lot of times be better, but are we so like integrated in Monday after all these years that it's going to be hard to migrate? I don't know. So it's not a priority right now, but I would like to look at like if we should move systems. Because if I understand if it's not broken, why fix it? But also like with the tech product, if we can match the exact same thing, have some features, and it's cost me a couple grand, but in the long run, it's I mean, we're talking about a lot of money in this revenue business. But if we can make some improvements in our life and how things are working, why not?
So you're kind of leveraging their desire and need for product development and like more customization.
Yeah,
So both parties are benefiting, right? Because they're learning from you how to maybe have that leg up on one of their larger competitors. And then for
yeah,
you, that means way more focused customization for your group, which is
yeah.
super smart. Like again, I want everyone to understand like the way in which your mind works. And then there's one
That was
other
one reason
tool
I
I want.
love ESP like today than more than even before, because all these competitors are stepping up. I've told people for a year now, ESP is one of the largest, I think technically the largest, if you count one number one transaction count. They're one of the largest companies in the world, but yet they're so nimble. They're not afraid to like try different things and break things. And like you've seen it like with all kinds of people that bring in and out or tools they brought in and out, it doesn't work. Just to shut it down and move on. And then now with like the new FLKOA status and the RevShare 2.0, that was completely unexpected, but it's a win. So being with this gigantic company with not unlimited resources, it feels like unlimited resources because they're so profitable and they're willing to make these changes quickly and retract if it doesn't work. It has been huge. So there's a lot of ClickUps up there, but then like Monday is probably like that because Monday's not really innovating; it just works. but eSpeed does like constantly change. They're kind of breaking themselves all the time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You're right, because usually once a company grows to a certain size, then that big flagship is harder and slower
Yeah.
to move. And EXP is proving that there is a way to stay that agile and nimble, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. Um, I want to talk about one other tool because I saw that you had put something out on, I believe it was Workplace, ZenList. I want to hear a little bit about how you see ZenList and what you might do to leverage a tool like ZenList in the new, real estate
Yeah,
space.
Zenlist is great. If you guys aren't aware of it, go to zenlist.com. Leo Pareja negotiated that we're the only company out there that can do a single sign-in using our ESP email address. So it hosts all of your coming soons. And then between everyone on Zenlist, they don't want to use the word Zenlist. And we want to use the term ESP exclusive. Because if you coin that term, it should be the thing. Like Compass coming soon or whatever they have is huge. Compass probably has the largest off-market database in the US. So then we want to compete with ESP exclusive because technically, I think we have double their transactions. So it means we have double their off markets. It's a place to hold your off markets, and we can get adoption here. So we took lead, and now all the agents are putting on it. Why? Because you're a potential buyer, you will want to work with the ESP agents because we have access to the biggest off market database in the world. And if you're a seller, you want to work with us with our ESP exclusive because we are number one transaction. So that means we also have the most number of buyers and buyers agents in real estate. So by working with us as a value add to get your house sold for more money, more exposure, for a buyer, you can get access to more listings. So you should sign a contract with us either way.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Kenny. I think that's a really tangible
Yeah.
value that you can offer a buyer, because I think when we're in that situation where we're having to sign a buyer broker agreement, the I'm a really nice guy and have really good service, that doesn't feel as tangible versus look at this database that you would have access to of off-market properties if you sign this with me.
We learned that from John Glutch too. And then I just had a case of binders come. We're gonna check it out, try it out with 10 binders, but we're gonna print a copy of like the Zen list, the screenshot of it. We're gonna have a list of expires. We're gonna have a list of FISBO. We're gonna have a list of canceled listings. We're gonna have a list of on dots on maps. By the way, we wouldn't actually print out the flyer that says 123 Main Street. We're gonna have flyer of all our clients' past sales. We're gonna have a map of my team. We have 48 coming soon. So that binder is a tangible asset you keep at your open houses. So the buyer will look at it. Wow, there's hundreds of listings in there. Yes, but I can't share this with you. But if you would like to know more information about it, I'd love to hop on a call with you, consultation, talk about our value, and what it looks like to work with us. And you also have access to these hundreds of listings that are not on the market. How's that sound? I mean, that's the off market was literally the number one unique value proposition we were pitching for years prior to all this like buy broker. But now the idea for a binder came more recently. So when we had that, our open houses are hoping that should help our agents win more conversations.
Yeah, it's true. I remember back in the REO days when we're really heavy and a ton of assets hitting the market. One of the ways in which we would lock buyers down is essentially, hey, look at this list of properties that are bank owned that are, in the stages of coming to the
Yeah.
market, but I know about them now. It's the same concept. And again, that's something that a buyer can point from, like, I want a home. That's something that's going to benefit me specifically
Yeah.
versus my cousin who's really nice and got a license, right?
And then all your past clients are technically potential sellers because yeah, like with the right price, most people would sell. And then you have their phone number, you have their email, you have a connection with them. So just think about that. And then you're driving to different neighborhoods with your buyer. Maybe you can refer to your map, like, wow, there's like 10 listings here we don't know about. How we like if I call these clients. Again, there's a value. Wow, my agent works really hard. How long will it really take you to call 10 clients? I don't know, an hour. But for them, it's a really big deal.
Yeah. That's super important too.
Hey, Joseph,
Kenny,
really quick,
go for it, Lawrence.
regarding pushing at Zenlist, I'm pushing at EXP instead of Zenlist because we're not the only brokers using Zenlist, correct?
Correct. But
Got
we
it.
call it EXP exclusive because the listings on there are only buyer broker. Because the reason like we use Zenlist because again other brokers have it, right? So that's not the unique. The unique part about us using it is has our listings, and we're the #1 transaction count.
Yep, that's thank you for bringing that up as well, Lawrence. Kenny, I want to ask you something like kind of more fundamental as far as like what 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 mentality, what approaches, like what do you see in an agent that you know, like these are the characteristics or the ways in which they approach real estate to be successful, as well as like what you think was so beneficial for your career. So like, what do you look for in an agent in terms of like, you know, ways that they engage the business, thought processes, and what do you think really launched you as
It's
well?
simple grit. It's like just showing up in grit. We, work with just this team, not like at Team Fast, like over 600 agents. It's agents who we notice that show up at the office every day, mentally strong, whatever, let's say be it, like whatever stuff's happening in personal life, it doesn't matter. They're not complaining about buyers ghosting them or not showing up. Like realize like, hey, you're gonna make the amount of money you want to make. You need to work the amount of hours you like. Let's just say 35 hours a week at least. Like they're showing up. We see a lot of successes with the new agents in the business. And then if they don't have clients, they're on all of our coaching calls. They're on the workshops. They're attending the networking events. They're really putting themselves and throwing themselves into the fire to be really successful. And then you have agents who opposite, like they complain about every little thing. They worry about the small things and not like overall. Well, my CRM, I don't know, something was on my CRM today. Did that stop? Okay, there's a bug on something. Well, could you have made calls in there? Yeah. Okay, what were you doing? Well, the other thing, or hey, I'm trying to go pounds this weekend, but Canva isn't cooperating, so I couldn't make my flyer really pretty. You'd be amazed how much time people spend on Canva, and that's why we have virtual assistant does it. But they pick on the little things as an excuse to not do the things that actually have an ROI in their business. And it's really hard to determine who's going to be successful from the first interview. I would say it takes at least 30 days to see people. Like we have agents show up, they kind of catch a momentum. They'll do a deal, they go party, and then they miss their open houses. All of a sudden, they're back in their bad habits, and they're out. Like there is this constant wave. And the agents I see, like I can think of 3 agents in just in my Oakland office that's done 10, 15 deals in the first year. They're just consistently busy. If they have no business, they're outdoor knocking, they're doing twilight tours, they're grabbing every open house opportunity. So they're showing that agents who interview well, because a lot of people are smart and they're talented, but they don't have the work ethic. Mm-hmm. I'll take anyone with a hard work ethic. You could train them on scripts and all that. And the word polish, I use a lot. A lot of agents, especially I work with newer agents and younger agents, they're not quite polished. They lack business skills. They might not even have like a full-time job before somewhere, but they're willing to show up every day in this business. They're gonna be successful. And then they ask for help. They ask the right questions. They're not they take feedback well, or at least they don't complain about stuff. I'm really direct, I can tell. So I have no problem telling my agents like, and they appreciate they ask me for feedback. Like I'm just direct to the point. Try this, don't do that. Show up here. What have you done? And just dive and ask a lot of questions about their business.
So Kenny, so it sounds like what an agent needs internally is that ability to not get stuck on the little things and lose vision of like the greater activity, like you mentioned, Canva eliminating their ability to get an open house done, for example. So that's a really good characteristic. That makes a lot of sense. So that's what you see as far as what the agent needs internally. Externally, what do you think agents, either new to the business or brand new, like what do they need from, you know, us or their broker or whoever's going to guide them? What's
They
the
need like
external
so we have a
factor?
30-day checklist. They literally need a list of things they need to do. Like, hey, if you want to be successful, you should hold, I'm just making up numbers right now. You should hold 4 open houses a month. You need to knock on 100 doors. You need to go to at least 3 coaching calls. You need to watch these certain videos. You should be writing up, even if you're not writing offers, write up draft offers for us to review, creating 2 videos on your wall each week about your business. You should do an intro video, go take new headshots. So we have an actual spreadsheet of them to do. And then an agents on our team that are on the team for at least 6 months and don't do a deal, we put them into and we either ask them to go solo EXP or they want to stay on the team, they can join the recommitment program. It's also just a list of things they should accomplish. So they need structure. They need things to do. They need accountability, and they need a way for someone to check in on them. I guess be simply as just partnering 2 new agents together and having them check in. A lot of the agents will call each other in the morning and check that the other person is going to the office. Say, hey, I'll meet you at the office. Not I'll meet you, then we'll grab lunch. Like, hey, we'll meet the office. Let's grind it out.
Yeah.
Log their phone call. So I don't know. We run our team like with a lot of data and action. I know like we're like social media team and looks really cool online, but that's by design. The agents actually behind the scenes are grinding it and doing really boring things
all the time, consistently, because that's where success comes from. It's not sexy, right?
Yeah.
It's the mundane stuff that we got to just keep doing. And is that how you scale, Kenny? Because you alone cannot manage that many agents. It sounds like you're really smart about partnering them, so there's some accountability that you can scale.
Yeah, well, they're my business partner. I have 4 people on the leadership team, including myself, so me plus 3. One of them is a director of sales and coaching, so he hosts his coaching calls 3 times a week. He leads the workshops, the role playing clinics, the training, and then the recommit program and such. So, and a lot of times it's just working off a spreadsheet. All the data is transparent. They're working off the same spreadsheet. They can see each other numbers and showing up. Wait, sorry, what was your question? Like,
No,
tracking.
like,
Yeah, so
I'm just,
I don't track this stuff. We built the systems for them to track it.
yeah.
And then we were using Sisu before, but we couldn't get huge adoption. So then we shifted over to Monday, and every Monday, which is like today, we send out an email like, hey, here's your activity tracker for the week, and just plug in their numbers by the day. And we have held contests like last June. We held like creating the most real contest. So the top 10 people got a free trip to Cabo. Because I bought too many rooms the year before. I had a huge credit. And then more recently, we had agents do all the productivity stuff like conversations and open houses and contracts and a long list of things, the point system. And the winner won $1,500 trip gift card to anywhere they want, Southwest card. And second place had a $500 hotel stay, and there was dinner somewhere. We run contests pretty often because it's crazy what people will do for like $100 gift card, but not for a $10,000 check.
I get it, man. It's the same reason why people will go get paid like, $20 an hour, and then they won't give themselves that same level of work on a consistent basis. No, I get it. And I love
if you're running a
gamifying
team,
things.
the contest is a great way to increase productivity because it's a productivity first and then the results, right? Which means if it's a sale and pending, then great. That means as a team that you're gonna get paid. So, and then you're building up the habits. So, and then after we win, and then the prize goes out, but we've all won already.
Yeah, because you're having them. The game is based on the lead measure, not the lag. So that's awesome. And like you said, you're building the right habits there. Kenny, are you open to some questions from some people before we wrap? Because man, I would keep you here all day, dude, because I'm learning a ton from you. And thank you again for your time. Guys, what are some questions that you would like to ask Kenny? Mo, go for it, man.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey,
great job today, man. I'm a really marketing-minded person as well, so I really enjoyed this call. A couple of questions. So one, how do you see your team getting the most success and winning listings, or at least getting a listing appointment through your marketing?
We don't get a lot of listings through marketing, but I think marketing, like physical marketing, like flyers or farming. Our team is out getting listings through marketing to referring agents, because most listings come from referrals, because past clients, they find you online, or they're doing a great job at the open houses talking themselves. A lot of agents are doing door knocking, which is huge. My top 3 agents are out. They're not door knocking, they're all out dropping off flyers for Twilight Tour. So I guess maybe that's marketing. So, but they're getting people to show up to their event, and that's where they sell them. So yeah, and then flyers they send out don't look that fancy. Sometimes they have a market update on it. Sometimes it's literally just, hey, you're invited. But while they're out there, they're marketing themselves, right? Wow, this is an agent that does these actions. Imagine I work for you, how much work I'm gonna do. I don't even have your listing yet. I'm literally in that where I'm just in the neighborhood. I'm trying to grind and help my clients out. Like, you're doing all this work already, and then you're hosting the Twilight, you're having a good time, stuff like that. So a lot of marketing that like I build my business on is talking about the things I do, which is how I started off this call. But people don't talk about the things they do as a marketing thing. Like when you're going if you're working with a seller, hey, today I met the inspector. Now we're sending out photos. Check out this new Matterport I got. These aerial photos are so beautiful. I love the way this looks. But you're selling the marketing to the people looking at it. So you gotta market your activities, which is the marketing. It makes sense.
And then
Not just I have a
Sylvia,
new listing. Good for you, but like you put all that work and you need to tell anyone about that. That's a missed marketing opportunity.
yeah, I own a media company that does listing marketing, so I get what you're saying. Sylvia, Twilight is basically like sunset. I saw that
Yeah.
comment.
Oh, yeah. Twilight tours are like between usually 5 to 7 or 6 to 8. I visited 2 high-end listings every day and I was unimpressed, but it just most people just have hors d'oeuvres and wine and drinks. That's pretty simple. But for my $2.5 million listing coming up, we're trying to grab his ideas. So we have a jazz singer and a musician coming. It might cost us like $1,000. And then my brother so happens to be a sushi chef, so I'm gonna be serving hand rolls. But we might end up spending $2,000 on this listing. But if I get in there a seller, that's a $2 million seller. So you got to invest there, and I think that's more worthwhile. Then that's more worthwhile if I can get many of the sellers come out than me sending out 2,000 postcards, because there's no experience there, right? Postcard, great. So we are going to send handwritten notes out or something like in the plain envelope. We won't have photos and it's usually a rush, but yeah, you gotta. And then when you do have a listing as an agent, I don't want to repeat myself, but you got to do everything you can for that listing. So it's so hard to get a listing. And the better job you do with that listing, the bigger of a portfolio you're building and a track record of success. So now you can go into the next listing. Yeah, this is what we did for this listing. So go above and beyond. Are you lucky enough to get a good listing? Make sure you're putting up brochures and you have all the stuff for it. So next time you can take that to your next listing. This is what we do.
Yeah. And then that actually segued into my second question really well, which is, look, when you look at your marketing from a bigger perspective, how are you kind of creating a priority list and setting deadlines so that you can make sure you're knocking everything out and not losing track or letting things fall through?
Checklist for everything.
All on your
Do
I
you
have
run
like
that
4
on Monday,
checklists. If
for
you guys
example,
DM
Kenny?
me, I can literally send you a link to the 4 we collected over the years. And then like we were one of the 6 partners. We were one of the 40 teams in the US and one of the 6 in the Bay Area that work with Zillow sellers. So we have a lot of new agency programs. So we gave them checklists to work off of.
And do you run all that off of Monday? Like that's one of the
No, like just basic spreadsheets. We're not that we're not really involved in our agents' day-to-day activities. We give them all templates, all that, because we run more like a brokerage. And then on my own deals, I was doing 60 deals a year before I grew this massive team. Now I do like 10. But I only work with senior partners and they all understand what they're doing. And all my very experienced agents all have their own virtual assistants. So we kind of modeled it after how I built this company.
Kenny, where are your 10 deals coming from? Is it strictly sphere of influence at this point, like past clients and whatnot?
There's like I'm still UpNest partner, so like get 3 or 4 or 5 a year of that. But majority of my business, if it's not past client referral, it's agent referrals.
Okay.
And then or lender referral. I get like I'm guaranteed to get 1 or 2 referral every single week from somewhere, whether it closed or not. It's a different story. Like the Alamo one that gave you example, and then be a connector. If someone in your market is looking for a referral, what I love to do is post online. Like this is a Boise, Idaho. Like someone asked me for Boise, I'll post online, and then some Boise agent might reach out to me. Now, what you got? You brought value to someone else. I'm not getting paid on referral. I'm just trying to connect people, right? Some levels of communication or influence. I forgot which book. Or when friends influence people. You're being the hub. So now you're building up your follower and people who watch your story because they don't miss out on the deal. So when you have something, you want to bring value. So I get a lot of referrals from agents that are referring me from other agents. Hey, someone in my office needs help here or there. And then because most of my time is spent on Instagram teaching agents how to sell real estate. So that's my network. I don't speak to clients that much online. I rarely get clients directly from Instagram, but I'm not in the business of getting clients. I'm in the business of giving agents from my team.
Yep. You've scaled to that point already. One more question, if that's all right. Cameron, I saw that you typed something in. You want to unmute and ask? If you're in a position to. Maybe he's not. All right. Cameron asked Kenny something about onboarding. Are there any KPIs? Are there anything particular that you guys do for your agents on your team when it comes to a proper transition for onboarding?
Yeah. I mean, we have onboarding department. When they first, okay, so the experience, trying to think, like when we meet a new agent, they always interview, even they interview me, they still have to interview my director of sales and growth, because he'll give a better experience. I'm more to the point, and I love interviewing high level agents, but 90% agents, it's the same questions.
Yeah.
So Elias is way more in tune and excited and that stuff, so it gives them better experience. And once they're in, they have to onboard within like the week, and we'll follow multiple emails because they can't even get through onboarding. They're wishy-washy, then we don't want them on the team. And then when they are onboarded, we send them a checklist. There's automated emails that go out, what they need to do with the DRE, the MLS and stuff. And then they have to schedule a Friday meeting, a one-on-one meeting, usually half an hour to 1 hour with our onboarding person. And then every month we do like a 3-day in-person course that require them. But we've been building this over time. Like, we were hesitant for this onboarding stuff, but now like the quality agents we were attracting were pretty low last year because of the attrition rate was high with the down market. Now we level up our requirements, and we've been able to get strong agents, so we can show that early commitment does well. And then the KPI and stuff, I'll just share this quick checklist. This is I'll share it while I talk.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. While you're doing that, this is what I really appreciate about not only EXP as a brokerage and how they've corralled the level of talent like Kenny. You know, Kenny, you're someone who runs like a massive business and organization, and yet you're willing to come on here and collaborate with us. And I really want you to know I appreciate that. But that's kind of like the crux of EXP Realty, are these leaders who are willing to pour into one another. And I just want to say again to everyone, you know, that's why we're here. Number one, like that's why EXP Realty, maybe even above a lot of the other reasons behind it. But then the other thing I want to say is like, Kenny is a true representation of like that level of willingness and giving and transparency. You know, despite the fact that his business is, you know, really admired by so many and would love to be replicated. So thank you for all of this, Kenny. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Wow, you've shared a couple of things on there. Guys, I'm going to give you guys a moment if you want to go ahead and click on those and access them. Cameron as well. Kenny, anything that you want to wrap with as far as like what we can do to support you? You've taken this time with us. I've learned a ton. What can we do to support you and your team?
We're always looking for team members in the Bay Area. We cover everything from San Francisco to Sacramento to Stockton to like San Jose. And referrals are welcome if I don't work them or Ted does. So I mean, anything, and then anything to write. It's funny because last night we were on the call with Larry and I said, drop my link, whoever wants to grab me for a call. And I think only 2 people did. So thank you for having me on, and someone else grabbed me for a quick call. If anyone needs my time, here is a link. Well, my Instagram link is at Kenny Fast, but here's a quick way to just grab.
And I would encourage everyone to go on there and look anyway, just so you can see all the branding we've talked about. Like, it's proof of concept on there. So I would recommend everyone does that. And then of course, make sure that you know, like, make sure you do all the things to follow and whatnot. That'll always help support what he's up to.
Yeah,
Kenny,
give our team a follow. We always have really fun content on there.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's you giving us a chance to see what you're doing so we can replicate, because obviously it's working. Kenny, one last thing I'll share with you is if there's anything that I could ever do for you and your team, I definitely want to know about it because I'd love to contribute as well. You know, I appreciate you paving the way of what it looks like to be a monster in your business and yet a really solid leader for EXP overall. So thank you for a wonderful Monday, Kenny. We really appreciate it. Hope you and your team have a killer week, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys.